to collect and analyze data. So there are two major types of data. So a primary source data is a person who collects data for their own use. Okay, so a person collects data for their own use. An example of this is maybe like a scientist or a psychologist. Scientist. Okay, or a psychologist that will like conduct their own experiments and then reach conclusions. Okay, a secondary source is this is research or a database where that's collected by someone else. Okay, so research collected by someone else. And examples of this include maybe like university or high school students. So let's say students who use information that they find in the library or on the internet. Somebody else collected that information and then summarized it, and then we're like re-summarizing it. So that's an example. So when data is used, bias, and bias is an unintentional or an intentional distortion of the data collected in a survey. So it is important that surveys be as free of bias as possible. So when using data, there are three ways in which data can be biased. Okay, so first is a response bias, and this is basically when the response is a lie. Okay, so people responding basically lie or do so like they respond favorably. So for an example, if a teacher asks her class, teacher asks, who finished homework? Okay, so who finished their homework? Homework. Okay, I bet you probably 99% of the class is going to put their hand up because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to have to stand in at recess. They don't want a phone call home. Okay, so that's just an example. So the response itself is bad. Okay, so another example that we're going to look at is measurement bias. Okay, and I put the example first here. So, for example, a parent council conducted a survey to determine if an after-school music program should be offered, and they worded the question like this: Early music training helps develop brain areas involved in language and reasoning. Should the school offer an after-school music program? Okay, so if you take a look at this example, the example states an opinion first. In the first sentence, it's before asking the question, it's stating a very positive opinion and to ensure that the parent council receives a positive answer from the population. Okay, and so to eliminate this bias, the question can be reworded. And we have to reword these very neutrally. Would you enroll your child in an after-school music program? Okay, what this is called is it is called a measurement bias. This is when the actual question leads you to an answer. Okay, this is when the question being asked, Q being asked, has favorable words in it. Okay, or leads you to an answer. Okay, here's another one. Which type of juice do you think is the best? Cranberry, pomegranate, prune, or other? Okay, so what this does is it provides three examples and then it says other. So it specifically names three juices. Immediately, if you like one of those three juices, you may quit. You may say, I'm not thinking anymore. I'm going to choose one of these three juices. However, that's a bias, okay? You either should put out of these four juices which one do you like the best and then actually name four, or just simply put other and allow the person to think for themselves. Okay, finally, non-response bias. So This is when basically people don't respond. When people like choose not to respond. So what happens often is people either really, really, really like something or really, really, really do not like anything. And what happens there is, like, if you had a really bad experience at a restaurant or at a store, you're more likely to actually fill out that card. Where a lot of people walk away very neutral feeling or very happy feeling, but they're not going to spend their time like say celebrating on a card, whereas people would vent. So an example, questionnaires are left on tables at restaurants to be filled out by customers. Usually the majority of the people who fill in these surveys had received poor service, which is usually a minority of the patrons. Okay, so not a lot of people that receive bad service, or else those restaurants probably wouldn't be in business. So the majority of the patrons do not fill in the survey as they were either satisfied or couldn't be bothered to complete the survey, right? So they're very indifferent because they had a good time, so they're just good and they just want to leave. These responders are considered to be non-responses, which might greatly influence how a manager interprets the negative responses. So for example, like if you had 10 great tables and one bad table, but only, let's say for example, only the bad one filled out the comment card, then your boss may think that you're a really bad employee, right? So let's write down the following examples and let's record what type of bias you think will result from each of the situations, then discuss the bias as a group. Okay, so suggest ways to remove the bias. Example 1. Residents of a community are asked this survey question. Building a garbage incinerator power plant in the neighborhood will increase jobs and encourage government funding of other programs beneficial to our community. Okay, so I'm just highlighting very, very strong words. Would you be in favor of this much needed venture? Okay, lots of words that are very positive, right? They're pro. Increase job, that's a positive thing. Encourage government funding, beneficial. Are you in favor? It doesn't say are you against, it says are you in favor? Much needed, okay? So this is definitely a measurement bias. Okay, so we can remove this bias by rewording this. So simply, are you in agreement or against? Agreement or against building a garbage incineration power plant. Building a garbage. So it's good because you're still telling the audience what's going up. So like a garbage incineration power plant. Let's put PP. So you're still telling what it's about. That doesn't have a negative connotation. That's just like the actual word for it. And then are you just in agreement or against? So it gives the audience both options. Okay, example 2. A group of professional football players are asked if they have ever taken banned performance enhancing substances. Okay, so if you ask a football player if he's ever taken, like, for example, steroids, he's going to probably say no. Like 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 times out of 100, they're going to say no because their career could be on the lines. Any medals that they've ever received, any championships that they've received may be on the line. So their response is probably going to be a lie. I mean, many of them have never taken this, but those of the players that have may run into a response bias. Okay? And the only way to get around this sometimes is maybe doing anonymous, right? So just ensuring that the survey is anonymous so that they won't lose their jobs or scholarship. All right, example 3. The members of an elite golf club are asked if they will approve the construction of a subsidized housing complex on the land adjacent to their golf course. Okay, this may be a non-response bias. And the reason is because if the elite golf club, if the members, all the members that don't agree with like the subsidized housing complex next to their golf course, they're going to speak up. And the individuals who are very indifferent may not even take part in the survey, right? So those against may very well, let's say very well, speak up. Speak up and against this. So what's going to happen is all of those, it's going to be heavily weighted toward probably the no, like no, I'm not for this. And then it's going to have a bias in there. Okay, instead they can, so to fix this, so the fix, either call and ask everyone, so ask everyone, like, so like taking a vote, or ask every like 5th person that comes in and just get them to fill out like a yes or a no. Okay, so example 4. A group of professional football players are asked if they have ever taken band performance. Oh, and we did that one. Okay, perfect. And that's it for 3.2.